Keir Starmer's government is failing to uphold democratic freedom to protest, says Human Rights Watch. I'm going to read into this more from Byline Times, you guys. Let's go. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. This is Reganelite here with an article from Byline Times where the headline that Keir Starmer's government is failing to uphold democratic freedoms to protest, says Human Rights Watch. The right to protest remain curtailed and punished. Despite a change in government, the leading human rights group has warned. Guys, while you're here, make sure you hit the like button and share it across social media so others are notified of this video. And it's absolutely true. I really do say that. Why do I say that, Regan? Because they have not undone a lot of the crackdowns on some of the laws and protest laws that they have implemented since they've come to power. Now you can argue that they're still working on them, but no, it's a simple case of undoing them, unwinding some of these, and reversing some of these decision makings that they have done. But the argument, another counter argument that people will make back to me says, well, there's other things that need to be dealt with as well. Yes. But are they going to give more freedoms to people? Are they going to allow that? And then my answer at the moment is no. At the moment, I'm not seeing that. Now, granted, if at the end of this year, if we see a rollback and we see people having more democratic freedom to protest, then I'll happily take this back. But as of right now, we're not seeing that. Now, it doesn't mean to say that it won't change, but as of right here, right now, we've had this government in for 6 months, and yes, there are a lot of things going on. But are they doing anything to protect people's rights to protest? Are they giving more freedoms back? So right now, I'm not seeing it. And that's my greatest concern. So let's read a bit more into this, you guys. So the UK government is seriously undermining democratic rights, and especially the rights to peaceful protests, Human Rights Watch has warned in its latest World Report of 2025. So Keir Starmer's Labour government, which took office in July 2024, has so far failed to roll back draconian anti-protest measures introduced by the previous Conservative administration, while continuing to appeal to a court ruling that curbs protest rights. The global report found that in many of more than the 70 national elections in 2024, authoritarian leaders gained a ground with their discriminatory rhetoric and politics. Several laws passed in recent years have significantly expanded police authority while raising major concerns about civil liberties. The 2023 Public Order Act and 2022 Police, Crime Sentencing and Courts Act have drawn criticism from campaigners for limiting the rights to protest and assembly. Peaceful protesters are still being imprisoned under those laws. Climate and pro-Gaza activisms were particularly hard hit by these restrictions in 2024, with the Public Orders Act provision giving police broader powers to limit demonstrations. These developments prompt an international response, with the UN Special Rapporteur on Environmental Offenders expressing grave concerns in January 2024 about the UK's treatment of environmental protesters. Absolutely. This was under the Conservatives, of course, which is why we are saying to Labour they need to roll these back. They need to roll these back as soon as possible. Another significant legal development occurred in May last year when the High Court ruled against certain 2023 anti-protest measures, finding restrictions on demonstrations causing more than minor disruptions were unlawful. But while the civil society group celebrated this as a win for democratic rights, Labour's administration has continued pursuing the appeal initiated by the predecessors with proceedings ongoing. The UN Human Rights Committee also weighed in, urging the UK to stop using physical reconciliation and mass surveillance at protests to protect various civil liberties, including privacy and freedom of assembly. Yeah, they've been. Yeah, it's just not. Again, like, do you really need to do this? Like, their argument is for security reasons. They'll be arguing it's for security reasons. They will. On immigration policy, PM Starmer's government discontinued the previous administration's wider deportation program and committed to addressing the backlog of roughly 90,000 asylum applications. But the legal framework established by the 2023 Illegal Migration Act and 2022 Nationalities and Borders Act continued to authorise controversial maritime pushbacks off migrant boats and offshore proceedings of asylum seekers. These laws maintain criminal penalties for irregular entry while failing to establish safe legal pathways for asylum seekers, Human Rights Watch have said. And Zoe Gardner, one of the an expert on this immigration, has stressed this. As long as we don't have legal routes, we're always going to have people crossing on boats. And no deterrent will stop that. That's been one of the crux of that issue. So Yasmin Ahmed, a UK director at Human Rights Watch, said, Many of us had hoped that an incoming Labour government would have repealed the undemocratic anti-protest legislation introduced under the previous administration, especially given Prime Minister Keir Starmer's background as a human rights lawyer. They have chosen not to, and are instead defending these measures in courts. Beggars belief peaceful protesters is a cornerstone of healthy and functioning democracy. Other human rights concerns include the failure of successive governments to tackle the cost of living crisis that is exacerbating poverty and inequality, the rampant spread of hate speech and Islamophobia that was manifested in riots in August, linked to a part to politicians and the media fueling division, and ongoing challenges towards establishing a humane and rights-respecting migration system. We now live in incredibly uncertain times, and now more than ever we need leaders who are going to stand up for the rule of law and our rights and freedoms. Ahmed said, how can the UK be expect to be taken seriously when criticising crackdowns in Moscow, Beijing and Tehran, while spending hundreds, thousands of pounds of taxpayer money to clamp down on peaceful protesters at home, including on climate protesters? It's very hard to argue, isn't it? Eniko Hart, director of human rights group Liberty, which is up against Home Secretary Yvette Cooper in the courts over anti-protest law, adding, the right to protest is a vital part of any well-functioning democracy, yet in the UK, swathes of anti-protest laws have resulted in more protesters ringing in the new year in prison than ever before. As this report highlights legislation that even the UN describes as deeply troubling in punishing people for protesting. When you have the UN literally saying this to the UK, that really does bring alarm bells. We had all hope for a reset under the new government, but the continuation of the legal case against Liberty and the undemocratic anti-protest legislation has set a concern tone for this administration. The government should be protecting our fundamental rights to protest, not trying to push the boundaries of the rule of law. Hart urged the government to choose to change course and repeal the anti-protest laws that we've seen in recent years, and to protect our rights to speak up on the issues that we care about. On the 29th of January, Friends of the Earth and Greenpeace are intervening in the courts in an appeal over excessive Just Stop Oil custodial sentences. Yeah, which is absolutely nonsense. Yeah, the sentences on them have been outrageous. Friends of the Earth and Greenpeace have teamed up to innovate a critically important legal appeal over the rights to protest. The 5 peaceful climate activists were handed record-lengthy prison sentences in July 2024. Two groups believe that the custodial sentences handed down to the courts by the Whole Truth 5 are excessive. They will argue they are breach human rights legislation which require that sentencing must be proportionate where fundamental rights such as the right to protest are engaged. The outcome of the hearing could have far-reaching implementations for the future of peaceful protests, and that sentencing could result of those convictions of protest-related offences in the future. The Cabinet Office was contacted for comments. And you can there's a report there which like I always do with all my things, I'll put a link in the description if you want to read the rest of it there, guys. But yeah, it's going to set a precedent, yeah, as this continues, and we need to be aware of that. It's a huge problem, that is for sure. It's not right. It's just not right that those who who are protesting, whether you agree or disagree with them, whatever side of the spectrum, people should be allowed to have that. But they're not. And we know they're not. And it needs to be addressed. So, guys, what do you guys make of this story? What do you guys make of the democratic freedoms to protest? What Human Rights Watch is saying? How do you feel about this? Let me know your thoughts and more down in the comment section below. If you found this video informative, please hit that like button. We greatly appreciate it. And share this across social media so others are notified of this video. If you haven't subscribed already, please consider subscribing because it really does help support the channel. If you want to go one step further and find support me and the work that I do here, you can do so by becoming a YouTube member for as little as 99p, or join me on Rumble or Patreon for exclusive content on those platforms. So thank you all so much for watching, and I hope to catch you all very, very soon.